reason my rent late.
Good evening. Linda or Evelyn, if you could please give the invocation.
Bow your heads, please. Dear Lord, we love you and thank you for who you are. You are holy, righteous, and true. You are the beginning and the end. You are who was, who is, and who is to come. You are in all, through all, and over all. We invite you, Holy Spirit, here tonight as you preside over all that is done here. There are many changes coming forth soon in those who serve our city. We thank you for those you have brought forth in the various positions. We pray for wisdom, knowledge, understanding, might, revelation, and fear of the Lord over them all. We know the plans that you have for this city, plans for good and not for evil, plans to prosper it and give it a future and a hope. These plans will come forth as those who serve here look to you, share thoughts and ideas, let all walls fall, and become one as you prayed in the garden. Jesus, you said, Father, make them one as we are one. Father, we ask that the governing of this city will be in unity, because you said how good and pleasant it is when brethren dwell together in unity, because it is there that you command your blessing. Lord Jesus, bless each newly seated official as they come forth in these next few weeks with peace, grace, and mercy as they work together to bring about your purposes and plan for Freeport and make Freeport a great place to live, work, and play. In Jesus' name, amen.
So now that it's 6 o'clock, we'll call this meeting to order for the City Council. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Alderpersons Borneman,
Present.
Monroe will be marked absent at this point. Ross,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Busker,
Here.
Shadle,
Here.
Misick,
Here.
Barr.
Here.
And if you could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Alderman Ross. Alderman Monroe is attending remotely. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Parker, seconded by Alderman Ross to approve Alderman Monroe. Okay. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. So now Alderman Monroe is a part of tonight's meeting. So item number 1 is the approval of the agenda. Is there such a motion?
So moved. Second.
A motion made by Alderman Ross, seconded by Alderman Busker. Madam Clerk, could you please take the vote?
Is a voice vote on this
No.
okay, Attorney?
Nope, so because we have electronic participation, all votes
Oh,
will be
you are
roll
correct.
call votes.
Oh, I am not set up for that. Okay, thank you. Ross,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Busker,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Misick,
Aye.
Barr,
Aye.
Borneman,
Aye.
and Monroe.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
And then I think you want to call Monroe for the start on that.
I will the next time. Thank you, Mayor.
And there were no public comments that were signed in, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is considered to be routine in nature unless there's a member of the council that would like to have something removed for further discussion. Is there anything, council? Seeing none, the consent agenda consists of approving to receive and place on file the boards and commission minutes from the Historic Preservation dated October 19th, 2021 and April 19th, 2022. The Zoning Board of Appeals dated February 2nd, Planning Commission February 9th, Foreign Fire Board February 9th and March 13th, City Manager Recruitment Committee April 3rd, 12th, and 17th, and the Public Library Board of Trustees March 8th, as well as the Liquor Commission March 9th, all 2023. Also, the Greater Freeport Partnerships Monthly Report dated April 26, 2023. The approval of permit fee waiver request for the Prince of Peace Church at 2700 West Stevenson, and adoption of resolution 2023-36 for the temporary closure of streets for cruise night on Saturday, August 12th, 2023, to the Illinois Department of Transportation, as well as approval of the finance bills payable in the total of $634,713.43 and payroll dated April 22nd, 2023 in the total of $573,523.34. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
A motion made by Alderman Shadle, seconded by Alderman Busker. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Monroe,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Busker,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Mizek,
Aye.
Barr,
Aye.
and Borneman.
Aye.
The motion passes 8-0.
If the migratory, actually, I don't need that until the swearing in. If the migratory bird parts can come on up. I've got quite a few proclamations to read this evening, and quite a few people here on the behalf of those. So first this evening is the Migratory Bird Day. So if you'd like to just stand here and then when that's ready. So on behalf of the City of Freeport, I'd like to read the following proclamation. Whereas migratory birds are some of the most beautiful and easily observed wildlife that share our communities, and whereas many citizens recognize and welcome migratory songbirds as symbolic harbingers of spring, and whereas these migratory species also play an important economic role in our community, controlling insect pests and generating millions in recreational dollars statewide. And whereas migratory birds and their habitats are declining throughout the Americas, facing a growing number of threats on their migration routes, both their summer and winter homes. And whereas public awareness and concern for critical components are critical components of migratory bird conservation. And whereas citizens enthusiastic about birds, informed about the threats that they face, and empowered to help address these threats can directly contribute to maintaining healthy bird populations. And whereas since 1993, World Migratory Bird Day has become a primary vehicle for focusing public attention on nearly 350 species that travel between nesting habitats in our communities and throughout North America and their wintering grounds in South and Central America, Mexico, the Caribbean, and the southern United States. And whereas World Migratory Bird Day officially is held each year on the second Saturday in May, its observance is not limited to a single day, and the planners are encouraged to schedule activities on the dates best suited to the presence of both migration and celebrants. And whereas World Migratory Bird Day is not only a day to foster appreciation for wild birds and to celebrate and support migratory bird conservation, it is also a call to action. Now, therefore, I, Jody Miller, Mayor of the City of Freeport, by the authority vested in me, declare May 13th, 2023 as World Migratory Bird Day in Freeport, and I urge all our citizens to celebrate this observance and to support efforts to protect and conserve migratory birds and their habitats in our community and the world at large. So, to give you this, if you'd like to say a few words, that would be appropriate. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. The Northwest Illinois Audubon Society will host the third annual World Migratory Bird Day event from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on May 13th at the Oakdale Nature Preserve. The theme for this year's event is water, which is a global theme determined by the organization Environment for the Americas. This year, we are focused on spreading the message that water sustains bird life and providing actions for managing water resources and protecting healthy aquatic ecosystems. This is a rain or shine event with use of the Mogul Center and the Oakdale Pavilion in addition to the trails. Co-sponsors of this family-friendly event include the University of Illinois Extension and Your Core Being. The entire event is free and open to the public. Audubon members will lead hourly hikes at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and 12 p.m. to birdwatch and look for stream creatures. There will also be a yoga session at 11 a.m. with Pat Lightson-Phi from Your Core Being. There will be a migration obstacle course and tables with educational games and crafts. There will be giveaways to all participants while supplies last. As part of the resolution passed by the City Council in 2021, a World Migratory Bird Day event is required as part of maintaining the state recognition of Bird City, Illinois that Freeport currently holds. We thank the city for their support in the celebration and conservation of birds.
Thank you. It is also my pleasure to be able to read the proclamation on behalf of the city for National Travel and Tourism and Economic Development Week. So whereas the Greater Freeport Partnership works on behalf of Freeport and Stevenson County as economic development and tourism partners to promote and grow our region. And whereas economic development and tourism promote economic well-being and quality of life for our community by creating, retaining, and expanding jobs that facilitate growth, enhance wealth, and provide a stable tax base. And whereas economic development and tourism continue to be an essential part of Freeport and Stevenson County's economy, development, and workforce as an essential industry that leads to economic growth, benefits businesses, and fosters mutual understanding. And whereas economic development and tourism enable success for all industries, including manufacturing, agriculture, defense, healthcare, and more, by driving sales growth, innovation, education, and operations that move our economy, our nation, and Freeport and Stevenson County forward. And whereas economic development and tourism attract and retain high-quality jobs, develop vibrant communities, and improve the quality of life in their regions. And whereas economic development and tourism support vibrant and safe communities in Freeport and Stevenson County by generating state and local tax revenue to support essential services such as education, emergency response, public safety, and more. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Jody Miller, do hereby proclaim May 7th through the 13th, 2023 as National Travel and Tourism and Economic Development Week in the city of Freeport, and urge the citizens of Freeport to join me in recognizing the critical role that these industries play in sustainability and growth of our region. So thank you, Mark and Nicole, and if you'd like to say anything, you're welcome to.
I'll just see a real brief comment because I know you have a big agenda ahead of you, but this would typically be two separate resolutions because it's National Historic, two different agencies. We're unique, we merged it together so you get one. So we appreciate the opportunity to do this business with you on the economic development side. And Nicole, briefly on the tourism side?
Yes, National Travel and Tourism Week, I say that they knew that these things go together, economic development and tourism, because that's why they plan them in the same week, right? Just a little bit locally on the tourism side, we just finished up Stevenson County Restaurant Week. Over 1,500 views to our restaurant guide, continuing to spread the news of the amazing restaurants and features that are available here in our area. You will see more information coming out about a matching grant we received for our tourism funding, an additional $15,000 to be able to spend to tell everybody about the amazing outdoor spaces in Freeport and Stevenson County, and using that to bring people to our area. Over 45,000 room nights were taken in Stevenson County, or in Freeport, because that's where our hotels are, in 2022. So giving a little bit of math on what they, on average, spend here, that's $15.5 million in visitor spending to this area. So very, very vital to the economic development of this area. Thank you so much for this recognition.
Thank you. And I have one last proclamation. Dovey, on behalf of the city of Freeport. Whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, And whereas professional municipal clerks continue to strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Jody Miller, do hereby proclaim April 30th through May 6th, 2023 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week in the city of Freeport. And I would like to personally say thank you, Debbie. You do a fantastic job. Okay, item number 5 is that Freeport is a tree city, and we have a letter that Director Sutter would like to be able to read.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm about to read a letter that is from the Arbor Day Foundation and on behalf of Tree City USA. So on behalf of Arbor Day Foundation, I am thrilled to congratulate Freeport on earning recognition as a 2022 Tree City USA city. Residents of Freeport should be proud to live in a community that makes planting and the care of trees a priority. Founded in 1976, Tree City USA is a partnership between the Arbor Day Foundation, the U.S. Forest Service, and the National Association of State Foresters. Freeport is part of an incredible network of more than 3,600 Tree City USA communities nationwide, with a combined population of 155 million people. Over the past few years, the value and importance of trees has become increasingly clear. Cities and towns across the globe are facing issues of air quality, water resources, personal health and well-being, and energy use. Freeport has taken the steps to create a brighter, greener future. We're excited to celebrate your commitment to the people and trees of Freeport. Thank you again for your efforts. Best regards, Dan Lambie from the Arbor Day Foundation.
Thank you very much. Here so everybody can see you on the camera. And Bill, if you'd like to start this, that would be great. I do not.
Jordan, you ready for this? Good. This is the official commission, City of Freeport Board of Fire and Police Commission. To all whom these presents shall come. Jordan G. Neuschwander, having been duly appointed to the office of patrolman in and for the city of Freeport in the county of Stevenson and state of Illinois for the term of the 1st of May, 2023, until his successor shall have been duly appointed and qualified, is hereby fully authorized and empowered to assume and perform all the duties of his said office, according to the law and ordinances of said city, and all persons are required to respect him in the discharge of his duties, by order of the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners. So, congratulations for that.
And I'm going to let you have unless you want to say something else.
I just wanted to say a few things about the hiring process here for police and fire. The Board of Commissioners for Police and Fire. And it's a high bar that we have within the board. And it's a long ways to get here. You would testify to that, I'm sure. A lot of testing, a lot of physical, mental requirements, and personality and psychology exams. We leave no stone unturned in the selection of people to make sure that we hire the best. And we are blessed in the city of Freeport to have a very good, solid, professional police department and professional fire department. and we are very excited to welcome you into that fold.
All right. I wanted to, in the swearing in, I wanted the audience to be able to hear your voice. So if you can, you want to hold this? If you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jordan G. Nushwander,
I, Jordan G. Nushwander,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
to support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of patrol officer
of the Office of Patrol Officer
according to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Jordan. Welcome to the team. Do you have one of the photos with your family? Sure, come on, family. Oh, absolutely. Can you-
So a couple months ago, Jordan reached out to one of our sergeants, Brian Polich, and he asked if we were hiring. And at the time, we were in the middle of a background phase of the hiring cycle that we just got done. But me being from Dakota and hearing and knowing of Jordan, who was an all-state running back for Forston, and once I knew that he was going to apply for us, I'm like, we got to get him in here and get on the same team finally. So I still remember that day when he came in the first time and sat in my office, and I asked him, you know, why do you want to be a police officer? And he said that since he was young, he had two goals. One, to serve his community as a police officer, and two, to serve his country in the armed forces. And tonight, after being sworn in, both of those goals have been accomplished, as he's already a member of the Navy Reserves. So it's quite an accomplishment, and we appreciate that you picked us to work with.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And it is also my pleasure tonight to be able to swear in our new city manager. So, Rob, I'm going to give this to you as well. All right, raise the right hand and repeat after me. I, William Robert Boyer III,
I, William Robert Boyer III,
having been appointed city manager
having been appointed city manager
in the city of Freeport,
in the city of Freeport,
in the county of Stevenson,
in the county of Stevenson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of my appointment
of my appointment
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. All right, item number 7 was a recognition of service award for Doug Quinn from the Community Development, having 5 years with us. However, he was not able to come this evening, but we will honor him in a private setting at a later date. So We'll move on to item number 8, which is the second reading of ordinance 2023-22. Could you please read this?
Ordinance granting a special use permit to allow the sale of alcoholic liquors at 1521 Southwest Avenue.
Thank you. Director Duckman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Staff received a special use permit application from Billy Adams Jr. for a restaurant selling alcoholic beverages at 1521 Southwest Avenue. And per section 125201 of the City of Freeport zoning code, it states that restaurants, taverns, packaged liquor stores, and any other establishment selling alcoholic beverages requires a special use permit. And on April 6th of 2023, the City of Freeport Zoning Board of Appeals recommended approval of the petitioner's request with a vote of 6-0 and 0 abstentions. And on April 13th of 2023, the Planning Commission also recommended approval of the petitioner's request with a vote of 6-0 and 0 abstentions. And in line with these recommendations, staff recommends approval of this ordinance.
Questions, council?
Thank you. Motion to approve.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Oh, I see. Okay. We didn't need the motion in the second. We'll start with Monroe.
Aye.
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Busker?
Aye.
Shadle?
Aye.
Misick?
Aye.
Barr?
Abstain.
And Borneman.
Aye.
That is 7-0 with 1 abstention. The ordinance passes.
Thank you. Item number 9 is the second reading of ordinance 2023-24. Could you please read this?
Water Pollution Control Supply Loan Program Ordinance authorizing loan agreement by the home rule entity for the City of Freeport for the wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you. Manager Boyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. On April 24th, special committee meeting, the bids for the wastewater treatment plant were reviewed, and IHC Construction LLC was the low apparent bid at $53,300,000 for a total construction cost of $58,848,000. As a result, as a result of the current debt limit, according to our EPA debt limit, it is necessary to obtain additional funds through the Illinois EPA Control Loan Program to finance the planned improvements. To accommodate this, revision of the existing authorized debt ordinance is required to meet the project's financial requirements. Funding for this project is through the Illinois EPA State Revolving Loan Fund, Water Pollution Control Loan. The city is currently guaranteed $5 million in principal forgiveness toward the loan in this IEPA fiscal year. The total estimated cost of construction, as mentioned before, was $58,848,000. Staff requests City Council approve Ordinance 2023-24, Water Pollution Control Supply Loan Program Ordinance authorizing loan agreement, home rule entity, City of Freeport wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $60 million.
Question, council? Alderman Borneman.
The 58 million, so the total estimated completion cost of the project is roughly 58 million, right?
A little, yes, $58,848,000.
Does that number account for the 5 million that's being completely forgiven by the IEPA?
That account, yes, that does not account for the $5 million.
Okay, so we're estimating completion cost is 58,800,000. 5 million of that we're going to have forgiven through the IEPA, so it would be roughly 53,800,000 that we would need, according to our estimates, to complete the project. So I'm just curious if you could explain why we're going for 60 million when it looks like our budget looks like it's closer to 53.
We're not authorizing the expenditure of $60 million. We're just raising the ability to borrow $60 million if there is a contingency that comes up throughout the project that we are currently unaware of.
Okay, I'll follow up. So the plan would not be to borrow 58 million?
That would be the plan.
Okay.
58,848,000, but doing 60 million would allow for the opportunity if we had any other incidentals or any other issues come up during construction.
All right, thanks.
Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Monroe,
Aye.
Ross,
No.
Parker,
Aye.
Busker,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Meiser,
Aye.
Barr,
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
The ordinance passes 7-1.
Thank you. Item number 10 is the first reading of ordinance 2023-25. Could you please read this?
Ordinance amending Chapter 1048 Sewer Rates and Revenues, Section 1048.01, Establishment of Rates, and amending Chapter 1055 Public Infrastructure Capital Improvement Fund, Section 1055.02, Funding.
Thank you. Manager Boyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. During the special council meeting held on April 24th, the City Council approved a bid for Phase 1 upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant. These upgrades include installation of new headworks, chemically enhanced primary treatment, ultraviolet disinfection, and a new lab and administrative building. The total cost of the project is $58,848,000, as we discussed before. The City Council also discussed various funding options and ultimately chose to proceed with what was presented as Option 3 at the time. Option 3 proposes to increase the wastewater usage rate by $3.35 per 1,000 gallons, which would generate an estimated revenue of $2,315,000 per year. Currently, this proposed usage increase is adequate to fund the planned improvements. Provided a table here in the memo for your review. However, the law of demand and economics states that as the price of a good or service increases, the demand will decrease. Therefore, it's reasonable to expect that increasing the usage rate will result in reduced consumption, leading to lower than anticipated revenue. Based on current estimates, an increase of $3.35 per 1,000 gallons on the wastewater portion of the utility bill is sufficient to fund the anticipated wastewater treatment Phase 1 funding needs. However, staff is concerned that the increase will lead to conservation efforts that may result in less than anticipated revenue. Staff recommends a water rate increase of $3.35 per 1,000 on the wastewater portion of the utility bill. Staff also recommends a 6-month trial to determine if the additional charges generate the anticipated revenue. In the event of a shortfall, staff will propose additional increases in the CIP to close any funding shortfall. Lastly, staff recommends certain increases in the commercial CIP rates as identified below, and that is to include a $50 per month CIP fee on commercial customers with 2-inch meters, a $75 per month on commercial customers with 3 to 4-inch meters, and a $100 CIP fee per month on all commercial customers with 6-inch meters or larger. Staff recommends council move forward with the $3.35 per 1,000 and the CIP fees as scheduled.
Questions? Alderman Barr?
Thank you. So I had I looked back to last week's meeting because I was surprised or concerned when I saw the opportunity to look at this in 6 months and reevaluate, because I don't think that was part of the option when we voted on it last week. Can you just clarify? I mean, I understand law and, supply and demand and so forth, but this seems to be, I personally don't like the thought of now going back saying 6 months later we can reevaluate this. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So staff had originally had advised that a $20 CIP fee for all users was the preferable route. Council proposed that we do a $3.35 as an option that was offered. So as far as understanding how the increased rate's going to affect the demand and therefore the revenue coming into the utility, I think it's only prudent to review it after 6 months and see if we're collecting the fees that we feel we know are necessary to continue to move forward with this wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, follow up. So can you, and maybe it's not possible, I don't know if finance could answer this or yourself, Mr. Boyer, because I know that you're good with the numbers, but would it have been possible in presenting option 3 to have, I know you can't predict what usage, and like you said, people could reduce consumption if their bills go up, but couldn't there have been some factor to have said, listen, this is potentially what could happen, so the proposed increase is X rather than go back in 6 months?
I suppose so. I was just, my concern with the $3.35 per thousand increase is, as I've stated, I'm concerned that people will just reduce their usage. So I wanted to make sure that we had an option to go back and realign the utility rates to ensure that we have the revenue necessary to cover the debt service and for the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Borneman?
Yeah, in your memo, you're identifying some rate increases for commercial customers, and there's 2-inch meters, 3 to 4-inch meters, 6-inch meters. How many do you know how many 2-inch, how many 3-inch, how many 4-inch meters we have?
We have an accounting of that, but I don't have it right in front of me.
Okay. With regard to 2-inch meters, is that, like, what type of business would that include? Is that something you could summarize?
I would say, well, let me think here. I would say some larger commercial food establishments may have 2-inch meters. I'd say some machine shops and that kind of business might have 2-inch meters. But I don't have the specific. I can get back with you on that if you need me to.
Sure. I have some more questions. Where did the $50 for 2-inch, $75 for 3 to 4-inch, and $100 for 6 and larger where'd those numbers come from?
Well, staff feels that it's important that our commercial customers are paying their share, and we felt that since there's a large benefit to our commercial businesses, that this would be appropriate to have an additional, just a CIP fee across the board, or an escalating CIP fee for the commercial users.
Sure, and I agree with that, but the actual number of amount, I guess, how was that determined?
That was determined based on the number of meters that were in the system. I don't have that number handy, as I mentioned, but we were just looking across the choices, and we came to that number as something of a common sense fee.
Okay, and then I just have some more comments. So the 2-inch meters, you're saying that there's obviously more. The most of these commercial entities is 2-inch meters.
Yes.
And then I remember we discussed this previously, but when it comes to 6-inch meters, there's a limited amount of those.
There's only a handful of those.
Okay. I guess my thought would be, and this might not be popular to those entities, but the 6-inch meters, I imagine that they're each individual 6-inch user is probably, I don't know, benefiting is the right word, or is putting out much more water than like the 2-inch meter users, but the fee is only a $50 difference. So my thought would be that for the more industrialized users, I mean, I could see I would suggest maybe an even higher rate for that, rather than something as close to when you're comparing a restaurant to, a giant factory, the difference is only $50 a month. I know it's probably at the end of the day, there's only a handful of the 6-inch meters and 3 to 4-inch meters, but I think it seems like it would be an easier way to chip away at this fee that, this whole memo is about, that this fee might not be enough, or this increased might not be enough, and we're gonna have to come back and potentially issue CIP increases to residential users. So I'm just trying to find as many ways as we can to chip away at the underlying cost. So I think that we should have a little more, I guess, educated or informed process to determine how much that should be. But I'd recommend that we revisit the 6-inch fee and even the 3 to 4-inch fee to see if maybe a higher rate is justified for those. So that's just my thought. I don't know if anybody in council has anything, or you have anything to say there.
Alderman Shadle?
Without even knowing that there's gonna be a shortfall, I don't know how we can come up with numbers saying we need this much on a meter until we know if there's even a shortfall. I personally would be in favor of just 6 months from now, let's see where we're at. And if we need to add, then, you know, these numbers may be way more than what's necessary, or they may be way under what's necessary. I just feel like we need to see where we're at 6 months from now, and if we need to make changes, we just deal with it then, so that we have some history and some numbers to work with.
Alderman Parker?
You have something to say, Rob, DM, or?
Alderman Shadle, I just wanted to mention to you that, I mean, that's perfectly reasonable. And also in 6 months, we could lower these as well. We just wanted to make a point of capturing some of the costs that are related to the wastewater treatment process back to some of our large commercial users. So that's why we put that in there. So I mean, I'm open to whatever motion you want. I've made the recommendation here, and if you want to postpone that for 6 months, that's the will of the council. You know, that's up to the will of council there. But I would encourage you to add something in here for the larger meter, you know, the larger commercial water users.
Go ahead.
If I could.
Alderman Shadle?
Thank you, Alderman Parker. I guess I'd like to know a little bit more of where these numbers came from, what you're feeling that the shortfall is going to be that these numbers are making up for.
Oh, they're not there to make up for any potential shortfall. They're there because the commercial users are going to benefit the most from the plant upgrades. So we wanted to make sure that we were capturing some of those costs over and above what our residential users are paying to help compensate for the cost of the project.
Alderman Parker?
How much are we planning to increase to make our payment on that loan? What we're hoping to draw in?
So the proposed increase would be $3.35 per 1,000 gallons on all users.
Right.
Okay, and then we'd be increasing adding or increasing the CIP rate for commercial customers at that schedule. So $50 for 2-inch meters, $75 for 3 to 4-inch meters, and $100 per month for 6-inch or larger meters.
So what's our total amount we want to have for payment on it for after a year?
So we're looking for about $2,315,000 each year.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Busker?
at that $3.35 per 1,000 gallons, how many 1,000 gallons does our average residential meter use?
Anywhere between 4 and 7. 4 and 7,000, that is.
Alderman Borneman?
Yeah, what is the current rate? We added 35 cents to the bill, or what for for users?
So for a residential water user, it'd be $3.35 per 1,000 gallons of wastewater.
What is it currently prior to?
Off the top of my head, Michelle, could you help me with that one?
Yeah.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
Your third. I know. Got so much going on over here, sorry. So you want to know the current water usage number is 0.002136 per gallon. And the sewer usage, if you'd want to know, is 0.005014. So that's the number plus the 0.00 .35 is where they're coming up with the point, on the ordinance, .8.
Sure.
More discussion? Is there a motion to move it forward?
I have a question.
Sure.
So last time we were here, there was some discussion about urgency regarding time. Since we've kind of committed to this, is there still that urgency to get this passed, or is there a way to consider the things I was talking about the CIP rates for commercial users, or is that something that we could just address at a different meeting?
I could put that together, and we could bring it back on the next council meeting for approval.
Sure.
Alderman Barr?
Excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm a slow absorber, so I'm stuck still on the 335 revisiting in 6 months. The option number 1, I think it was, for the additional $20 fee that was presented originally, is that something too that would have had to have been revisited in, say, 6 months or whatever?
No. Essentially, that's a simple calculation. You take your $20 times your total users. But when we're looking at a consumption-based increase, we have to expect that there'll be some conservation efforts. And so I believe in 6 months we would know what the impact of those consumption or conservation efforts will end up reflecting in the revenues.
Okay. Thank you.
I think Darren Stekel, I'd like to recognize you if you've got something to add.
So this loan will be similar to all of our debt service loans with EPA. The financial team will be tasked annually with auditing the accounts to ensure that we are putting enough money away to make repayments, so adjustments can be made annually. I believe so far we haven't had to do that. Our projections have been very close to being able to put enough money away without coming back to the users for more. With the user-based system, out of the 3 options, it's the most risky for the city because it's going to put more work on the financial team monthly to take that amount out of the bills, put it in an account, so you're creating more administrative work on our level here to be audited. Instead of now, every bill that comes in, that money's moved monthly into an account so it's easily trapped. And it doesn't matter to us how you do it. And Eric was right, EPA will allow us to do it other ways. It's just cleaner because of the issue, what we've did with all of our debt service. Right now, $33 a month is for debt service to loans. And so it's gonna create more administrative work on her end. And if there is fluctuation in rates, then the city is obligated to change those rates as needed to make sure that we have that money on hand every year when the payment's due. And I'd also like to tell you on the number of $2,315,000, that is with the forgiveness already factored into that. The reason we needed to do the debt ordinance for $60 million is you have to loan the full amount, and then on the final payment, they subtract the $5 million off. So your borrowing capacity is there, and then they give you the forgiveness at the end. So until this loan's paid off for 30 years, our financial team will be on user-based rate that we'll have to make sure that if people move out of town, we're obligated to still collect more, so those rates can change over time. That's why we're using the $9,800 user rate, because we have about 10 to 15% no pay per month that we have to chase for the payments. So it all factors into how you want to collect the money.
I'd like to just add, as Mr. Steekles just mentioned, the $20 per month flat rate is preferred for the standpoint of we will receive the funds that we are billing for, whereas the consumption rate, while adequate, is not preferred from the standpoint of we don't know what the conservation efforts will be when people consider their higher bills. So,
Alderman Parker?
So if I understand this right, that flat $20 rate would be easier on the staff here to run it that way.
the flat 20 rate would be easier to keep track of, it would be easier to administer, and it would actually make it easier for the EPA because they want to make sure that we're going to receive those funds every month, and if it's based on a consumption rate, they can't guarantee that that money will be there when it needs to be there.
Well, with making it complete, I'd like to make it as easy on our staff as we can because they are overworked. So how do we make it the $20, or are we already obligated to this other?
So you guys have already, at the previous meeting, made a motion to move forward with option 3. If you want to amend that, you would have to make a motion to say, I want to change that from option 3 to option 1. There'd have to be a second, then the council would have to vote. If there's a majority vote to say we want to change it to option 1, then we'll move forward with option, amending this and bringing it back to you guys so that it
I
reads
can
as
make
option
that
1.
motion now then? I'd like to make that motion. We change it from option 3 to option 1.
I'd just like to ask a question if I could.
I know it's not going to
So I agree with Mr. Parker, but I guess I just want to make sure too, making it easier on staff is critical, but I also want to make sure it's easier on 23,000 people in Freeport. And so listen, I don't want to pay an extra 20, nobody does, and I think this is the reality we're in, and I support this project, and I support, I mean, it's not a secret, but I want to make sure that we make the right decision, you know, so from my understanding, if we do go with option of $20, it is unlikely, or it is not likely, or is it likely that we would have to revisit that 5 years down the line, 2 years down the line to up that $20? Or is that a fee that would cover the loan throughout the life of the loan?
If I could just answer you, it is unlikely, however, it is based on the total number of users in the system, so if that changes, that's going to change that amount. However, it's much more secure in terms of a funding source than basing it on a user rate.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Busker?
Madam Mayor. Yes, Manager. Looking at that, the price increase here, doing it by the user rate, would you say there's more users using close to the 7,000 gallons as opposed to the 4,000? Because if we've got more people looking at 7,000 with this, it's going to be over $20 a month increase for them.
So we looked at all the users and their consumption rate. That's how we came up with the $3.35, as we know how many users are using, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. So that's just, let's say, it's just a rule of thumb here to break it down. But the $3.35 is based on the entire rate base, and perhaps Director Richter would like to chime in on this one? No? Okay.
Well, about the 7,000?
Yeah, they just,
Because I do agree with a family using 7,000 gallons will pay $23 instead of $20. So it's, where you cut it,
right.
But you're exactly right.
Alderman Warnerman?
So we have a motion. Has it been seconded? So I
Not
guess
yet.
at point of order, I think we need to have that. I don't think there's discussion when a motion's pending,
Okay,
right?
then we can.
It'd be cleaner if anyone's going to
Right,
second
so we
this
have
motion
we
or
have a
not.
motion on the floor to amend this ordinance to change it from option 3 to option 1. The motion's made by Alderman Parker. Is there a second to that amendment only? Then I guess that fails. So we keep it at option 3, which is based on user fee. Alderman Borneman?
Yeah, so I guess like we discussed at the last meeting, the IEPA wants the CIP fees because again, it's just guaranteed every month. People are paying an extra $20. And yes, when we increase the rates, it's going to cost more for everybody who's using water. So if you're averaging 7,000 gallons a month, you're going to pay more than $20. But if you were gone from your home for a month, you wouldn't have to pay $21 to your water bill. But if you, under the CIP fee, you would just automatically be billed it, that $20, regardless of whether you paid any or used anything. And I think it's, from my interaction with people, you know, we have so many utility fees as it is. I don't think people want to add that, and I understand the difficulties associated with that for the staff. But this is something that can be revisited down the road, and if it needs to be, it will be brought up again. But for now, I think to make such a 180-degree turn from saying we're not doing the $20 fee to then doing it that we are, like at this meeting out of nowhere, I don't think is the time to do it. I think we should give the staff a chance to see how it works, and we revisit it down the road. Again, I think we need to want to emphasize that these industrial users are benefiting the most. We should really review the rates that they're paying and make sure that they're, you know, adequate. And I'm looking at it as $100 per month to me. I feel like that's a little light for a 6-inch or larger meter, but I don't have the numbers or the data to support that. So I think, you know, my recommendation would be for this to be revisited in 6 months. That's my suggestion.
So did you want to add that as a motion?
Yeah.
Actually, and I just want to clarify one item with Manager Boyer. The portion of the recommendation to increase the commercial CIP rate for the commercial and industrial based on the size of their service there, that's not currently in the draft ordinance there. So, because no, right. So any motion, because based off of what was the marching orders from the last meeting was to go with option 3. At that time, option 3 didn't include this additional $50, $75, and $100 increase to the commercial industrial users. So any motion to move forward with option 3 would need to include then this the CIP increase for the commercial industrial users, if that's what the council wants to do.
Along with the revisiting in 6 months?
Correct.
Alderman Busker?
Yes. Manager, would you be able to have numbers by next Monday's COW meeting to see what different rates for the industrial users we could use and see what that looks like?
Absolutely.
I'll make a motion to move this forward to the COW for further discussion.
With all those options?
Yes.
So that would be, just to clarify, you're moving option 3 forward.
Yes.
With the added CIP for commercial and industrial users based off of the staff recommendation, and then to revisit all the rates in 6 months.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to move that forward as stated by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Shadle. Move on to item number 11, which is the adoption of
Wouldn't we
resolution.
take a roll on that to move it to the COW? Because
We're not moving the ordinance to the COW, though.
I think that this is just going to be moved forward for second reading to the second meeting
So
in May.
future meetings.
Correct, but I think what I'm hearing Alderman Busker say is that he just wants an
Madam Mayor.
update at the COW than on the CIP
Gotcha.
numbers.
Yeah, clarify my motion for the clerk. Yes, to move this on to the next meeting, but I want clarification on those.
Got it.
The COW, yep.
Okay, then item number 11 is the adoption of resolution 2023-34. Could you please read this?
Resolution approving memorandum of understanding with AFSME for library employees.
Thank you. Manager Boyer?
Thank you, Your Honor. There are times at the library that shift hours have to be changed due to vacation, sickness, and vacancies. We had a full-time employee at the Freeport Public Library request the ability to work a 10-hour shift. There are times when working a 10-hour shift is beneficial to the library, the city, and the employee. The proposed memorandum of understanding with the American Federation of States, County, and Municipal Employees addresses the use of 10-hour shifts and how employees will be compensated. There is no financial cost to the city with this agreement, and it is my recommendation that the City Council adopts a memorandum of understanding with ASME regarding library employee hours. ASME has already signed the agreement.
Questions? Yeah, Alderman Busker.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Then we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Shadle to adopt Resolution 2023-34. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Monroe,
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Busker,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Meissick,
Aye.
Barr,
Aye.
and Borneman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 8-0.
Item number 12 is the adoption of Resolution 2023-35. Could you please read this?
Resolution authorizing and approving agreement for electric energy contract for dusk to dawn streetlights electrical bid.
Thank you. Manager Boyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city maintains electrical accounts for our street lighting program. Normally, we bid the electrical supply every 3 years. Our current contract with ComEd at 0.023731 cents per kilowatt hour. The contract is due to expire May 2023. Because electric rates fluctuate so much, the apparent low-cost supplier on the attachment we have here. So I'm going to recommend we've got we have, looking at the studies, we've got alternative, let's see, Constellation is the apparent low bidder at 0.05987 cents per kilowatt hour on the 36-month schedule. So funding for the streetlight program comes through. Oh. Thank you. Mike, are you here? Oh, I'm going to give the floor to Mike Mudge right now, who can discuss these rates.
Okay, is this on? All right, great. First of all, thank you for having me back, and I can kind of clear the air because we got a couple different things going on here, and we got new members of the council that I haven't met, and I guess there's going to be some more new ones coming soon. But what we're looking at right now, our contract with Constellation Energy is up in May, and there's only 3 bidders for the dusk to dawn streetlights. The new ComEd rates just came out last week. We were waiting until they came out because they were at 5 cents last year. Last year was a very high energy year. They did drop down to about 3.7 cents for the next 12 months. What makes sense right now to save money would be the 6-month rate with Constellation to extend it. Well, it would be May through the end of December. What we're looking at is we have a pumping contract also up this year, but that's in December. The last time we did this, the council at that time asked, can we get both of these at the same time so that we can look at both items and vote on it at one time? So we're trying to do like a 6-7 month extension for the streetlights, and also we have a bid for the pumping accounts. So that's why you have 2 sheets in front of you and two different bids. We do want to keep the streetlights on a separate issue and a separate contract because those streetlights, of course, use power at night, and the nighttime rate is cheaper. If we added on to our pumping contracts, that would elevate the street lighting price, which comes out of the streets and maintenance and not the water and sewer part. So we're doing 2 energy bids with 2 different entities, you might say, for the city. So with that, we do have to kind of move on the streetlights. We've got till December to move on the pumping. However, prices are a pretty good spot right now to look at the pumping contracts. So you've kind of got some numbers in front of you that can change by tomorrow. So what I would like to ask the council to consider is that you would give the authorization to the city manager or designee to go ahead and negotiate the streetlights and/or the pumping accounts, so we can get them a live bid, like on tomorrow or whatever day is suitable, and be able to act on the contract at that same time. We do this with counties and other communities and so on and so forth, and that works pretty well. The resolution or whatever should be something to the effect to do the authorization, but for the council to kind of set the term of what they would like to have, and prices pretty near what you're looking at right now.
And just to be clear, you're looking at a 6-month contract?
My thought is go 6 months with the street lighting, and if we can't find anything better at that time, go back to ComEd, whichever's lower, because I'm all about saving money and what's practical.
But our last contract was 3 years.
Correct. We had, at that time, the ComEd rates were higher, and we saved money each year of those 3 years. But if we look at the 3 years here, we're looking at, 3.5 years to match it up. We're looking at 4.6 cents, where if you look at the ComEd rate right now is 3.7 cents. So almost a penny a kilowatt hour higher. That's why I'm thinking about going shorter on the street lights. You're looking at a $21,000 bill versus a $30,000 a year bill just for the energy portion. And most of that is for the ComEd lights. The usage has gone down because they're now all LED lighting. And the most expensive part on the street lights is the rentals, the rental fees paid to ComEd for the lights. It always was. But if we, in the past, with the other past councils and that, we always wanted to squeeze every penny out that we could. So that's why we started doing the street lights. This is like our our 4th contract for street lights. Where in pumping, we started out in 2006, and that was 17 years ago. We're on our 9th this will be our 8th contract for that. There we're saving anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a year on the energy rate. So that's substantial. Streetlights was just kind of little topping, so.
Manager Boyer, did you want to add something? Discussion, council? Alderman Ross?
When we speak of the pumping, are we speaking of over on Hancock Street?
We are looking at 23 accounts, which include the wastewater treatment plant, all your wells, all your lift stations, so on and so forth. So when it came over from Water and Sewer Commission, we got the whole thing in the city council lab. And I believe, if I'm correct, you were on the council at that time?
Right.
Yes. So, yeah, there's 23 accounts, some small, a lot small accounts, but the major one is the wastewater treatment plant. And coincidentally, that usage has gone down with the improvements that's been put in there the last few years. And also that's got the solar system that's also reducing the usage. So our usage has dropped with the pumping and that. And usage has dropped on the streetlights because of the LEDs and that. So.
Thank you.
Alderman Borneman?
Yeah, could you introduce yourself for the listening public, just so people know who's talking?
Sorry, I didn't do that. My name is Mike Mudge with Rock River Energy Services. We work with around 100 governmental units, including Stevenson County, City of Rockford, so on and so forth. My background, I worked with ComEd 35 years, and once deregulation started, I could see how we could save money. So we work with about 3,000 commercial industrial customers, but we work with tens of thousands of residential customers, including the City of Freeport Community Electric Aggregation Program, which is a whole nother topic. So we're quite involved, and we like pinching pennies. The aggregation program, last year the summer rates with ComEd were 12 cents a kilowatt hour, and they're 10 cents, and they just dropped down to 7, but our community rates in the 6-cent range. And you multiply that by 20, you say 20-some thousand homes, we got the majority on the program. So if we're saving $5 to $10 per household, that's a pretty successful program.
Sure. All right. And so you're recommending for the streetlights, just a short 6-month contract. You don't think it'd be worth going up to 54 months, just assuming that at that time the rates?
That's an option I'm throwing out to the council. If I was writing the check, I would say, let's do the 6-month rate, and if things don't change, we'll go to ComEd and ride them for a while, if that's cheaper than the market. So that's the one item on the streetlights. On the pumping, if you decide to do that, yeah, I'm kind of recommending the 3-year. If you we'll look at Constellation, I'll just kind of show you where I think the market's going. Every year the price goes up. Normally when we have bids, we have backwardization in the market. The farther out you go, the cheaper it is. This is showing us that right now, power is tied to natural gas, and natural gas is increasing. The expectations are, we had a mild winter, we had a lot of natural gas was very high, which increased our storage because they quit using it for power production. That's one of the largest users of natural gas in our country. When it was very high, they're using it. Now that it's low, the producers are starting to back off again. So if you see the rates of 5.67, 5.8, 5.9, 6.1, 6.3, you can see the step-ups, so you can see where the energy market's going. If you do a 3-year contract, right underneath 6 cents with Constellation, the 12 months and the 24-month rates are subsidizing that third rate. If we did 1 year at a time, we'd be looking maybe like at a 6.2, 6.3 cent rate for that time. It's just averaging out the numbers. And anything else?
Yeah, so the state of Illinois is trying to transition away from, I guess, natural gas, right? And we're moving towards electric. So I guess in your experience, what can we expect for these type of rates in 5-10 years, or am I not right in that?
We are very fortunate that they extended the nuclear plants, the Byron Station and the Dresden Station, or we'd be looking probably about 12 cents. This is my own opinion. Plus, when we had that cold spell, these nuclear plants kept our lights, kept the power flowing. Last fall when we had that, right after Christmas, about December 26th, 27th, we had some extreme cold weather. And I'm a nuclear advocate. I'm also a solar advocate too. I got a solar at my place. But that really saved our bacon, because when it's that cold out and you lose power, blackouts or brownouts, that's life-threatening in extreme temperatures. But to answer your question, like in Arizona, you're seeing an average of 16 or 18 cents a kilowatt hour. You're seeing in Ohio, closer to us, in the same grid that we operate in, they're looking at 10, 12, 13 cents for their utility rates. So we got a real benefit here. If we're able to get rates around 6 cents for 3 years, we'll look back and we'll say that's a pretty good rate. And our rates from like 2006 up to now have always been in the 4.5, 5, 6 cent range. That's as high as we've gotten, so. So, my opinion, but it's your call. Just do the 6-month rate with Constellation, or authorize the city manager or the mayor to sign a contract for that, and do the 3-year contract, again with Constellation, same supplier, but a different contract and term. But you have a menu of options, so if you got any questions on anything else, I'm open to listen.
Manager Boyer, did you have something you wanted to add? All right, so if we can just focus on the one portion of it, the resolution for the Dusk to Dawn, just that one, if there's further discussion on that piece.
This is
Yes.
more of a comment than I think something that will get accomplished, but I know these aren't our lights, but it would seem to make a lot of sense if there was some type of solar component to streetlights where, I mean, I know like a redundancy where it's obviously connected to the grid, but there's still this, and I know that's really not our ability to do, but I don't know why ComEd wouldn't do that, other than that they won't make money if they do that. So it's disappointing to see that that's not a trend throughout the country, and maybe there's stuff I don't know about, but it seems logical to me to do that. But with regards to this project, I guess I'd take the recommendation of the 6-month contract, and we're looking for a resolution, so adopt the resolution allowing the city manager to.
Right, so is that your motion then, for the 6-month contract?
Yes.
Stated for item number 12? Okay.
I'd second that.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman Borneman, seconded by Alderman Shadle. If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Monroe,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Busker,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Meissick,
Aye.
Barr,
Aye.
and Borneman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 8-0.
So I know we've already been talking about the pumping account, but if you could please read the adoption of Resolution 2023-36.
Went too far. Resolution authorizing and approving agreement for electric energy contract for electrical service for pumping accounts bid.
So you want to follow up with that one, Manager?
We're basically at the same situation. So the city's maintaining 23 electrical accounts. We'd like you to make a motion that I can approve the rates here within this week for this particular contract.
Just one second. Madam Clerk, can you please make note at 7:17, Alderman Monroe had to leave the phone conversation.
Thank you.
Alderman Borneman?
Yeah, sorry for talking so much, but I just want to make sure I understand this right. You're recommending 36 months, not the 60-month rate, even though the price looks like it's, 0.059 for 36 months and 60 months is 0.063. I'm just wondering, and you mentioned we're going to be looking back in years talking about how these rates were good. So you don't think we should be trying to get the longest rate now at these rates? You think in 3 years we'll still be looking at a rate of around 6 cents?
I think that's pretty forward-looking on your part, and that's why we offer a menu of options, Alderman. We have done some 5-year contracts. Typically, this council has kind of gone with 3, but that's up to the council. There may be great value in that going 5 years.
So I guess just a comment to that is, I'm relying on your judgment and the city manager's expertise here, but I don't think we can expect in 5 years from now to have a rate that's less than what's being offered. I think we'd pay a little more upfront, but in the last couple of years we might make up for that. But that's, That's my thought on it all.
Alderman Shadle?
Would this, if we went with a 60-month or a 36-month, either way, would this be added on at the end of the December contract? Or this
Correct.
would start now?
Good, that's a very good question, and I hate to use that phrase, but it is. Your existing contract of 4.5 cents goes through December. This would start December on your common meter reading date in December.
If I
And,
could, please.
and the difference of $30,000 seems like a lot of money, but if you spread that, that's going to be for every month. Each year, that's going to be the rate, the 272,000, if the usage stands the same. That's why we measure it by your annual usage. You use about 4.3 million kilowatt hours annually, so that's what we base this on.
If I could, your expertise in this, 6 months from now, or whatever, the end of December, 7 or 8 months, these numbers are gonna be higher, these contract prices?
For the streetlights, the ComEd rate is set for till next June. It goes June to June.
Okay, but on the,
So if our market drops for streetlights, then we can do an extension. If not, we got the safe harbor thing of going back to ComEd and watching the market and then,
Right.
splitting hairs.
but on the pumping contracts?
No, that was on the streetlights only.
I understand. My question is about the pumping contract. Do those numbers in your expertise, you think that at the end of this contract, if we wait till the end of December or in December, the number for a 60-month is going to be higher, or do you have an opinion on that?
Yes. This time last year, we'd be looking at 8 or 9 cents. That's how much the market has dropped. And reason we're bringing this up tonight is we're kind of at a low point before the summer. If it gets to be a hot summer, we could see this get away from us. So that's what I'm thinking. I appreciate that talking about this at this time. I think it's a good time to lock it in, sir.
Thank you. That does make sense.
So what's your pleasure?
I'd make a motion to authorize the city manager to contract out on the 60-month.
With
Pardon? Yes.
Second it.
Tomorrow's bid. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
With the lowest bid tomorrow, yes.
And then, okay, so just for clarity, how do you have that, Madam Clerk?
60 months with the lowest bid tomorrow.
And that motion was made by Alderman Shadle, seconded by Alderman Barr. Did you have something else, Alderman Borneman?
I guess just Manager Boyer, you're not adverse to doing the longer contract. Is there anything that we're missing that you think we should consider?
Well, I'm just looking at what we're paying now, which is $194,000, and the contract that we'd be looking at bidding on would be somewhere around $272,000. So that's, that's a rough delta of $76,000 we haven't budgeted yet. Maybe want to consider that.
Madam Mayor.
Alderman Busker?
Yeah, if we lock this in, this changes this for this month going forward, it changes the rates to that, right?
No,
Or
it
is this-
changes in December.
December for the pumping?
Yes.
And Alderman Borneman?
So the 36, it really would, it's only, the 6-year, or the 5-year, 60-month is $18,000 more than the 36. And this is what it will cost per month or per year?
This is an annual.
Right. So we're talking about an $18,000 increase rather than the $76,000 increase, right? And when you talk about unbudgeted,
Correct. You're correct.
It'd be 60,000 difference by 12 months, that's about 5,000 a month. Does that sound right?
Yep.
It's a good point. This is all comes out of the water and sewer budget. So if you're looking at that, and you're looking at doing a lot of changes like I heard earlier, this is something to consider. But this would be stable for 3 or 5 years, whatever you deem's best for your community.
Manager?
I'm more comfortable with the 36-month term.
and can I follow up on that?
Sure.
Is that just because we're talking about the budgets, or are you concerned about us locking into a rate that might not be, like, are you concerned about the rate, or are you concerned about the budget, as you mentioned earlier?
More concerned, well, I'm concerned about both, and it's hard to say what's going to happen in a year, 2 or 3 from now. However, as Mr. Mudge has pointed out, these are historically low rates, but at the same time, we've only got a few bidders on that 5-year term, and the 36-month would be more competitive with the number of bidders. So it's just my recommendation to stick with what we've done in the past, which is 36 months.
Alderman Shadle?
I'd amend my motion to 36-month authorization instead of 60.
Alderman Barr?
I would second that.
Yes. So if we're at that point, we need to vote on the amendment part only. Madam Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Monroe will be marked as absent. Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Busker?
Aye.
Shadle?
Aye.
Meissick?
Aye.
Barr?
Aye.
And Borneman.
No.
The amendment passes 6-1.
So now you have a resolution that is for 36-month term with the lowest bid as of tomorrow.
So is there further discussion, or is there a motion as stated?
I think the motion's already on the table. Yeah, because the original motion was for 5 months, or sorry, 5 years with the lowest
That was
bidder
just
as
amended.
of tomorrow. Then that was amended to 36 months. That was approved, so now we have the motion as, the approval as amended.
As amended, okay.
So if there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Busker?
Aye.
Shadle?
Aye.
Meissick?
Aye.
Barr?
Aye.
Borneman?
No.
The resolution is adopted 6-1.
Okay, then we'll move on to item number 14, which is the adoption of Resolution 2023-37. Could you please read this?
Resolution approving mutual aid box alarm system, or MABUS master agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Mudge. Chief Miller.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Tonight, we're seeking approval of the revised MABUS master agreement. As the clerk indicated, MABUS stands for Mutual Aid Box Alarm System. So the city of Freeport has been a member of MABUS for more than 30 years, and MABUS was developed back around 1968, and since then, they've only had 2 revisions. But now MABUS has grown so much to be such a beneficial program out there. 2,600 departments, extends to more than 6 states. So with this type of growth and development, they found a need to revise some of their language. And all those revisions provide a benefit to us, to the city. So the new master agreement will provide language updates covering multi-state mutual aid, enhanced spiller pay language, and extends resources to non-governmental and federal agencies. So with MABUS, it provides emergency response and equipment, specialized equipment that any agency, including Freeport, could not afford to invest on their own. So they also provide specialized training, which is typically reimbursed to the city for those types of classes. So some additional benefits to their revision is, like I indicated, they now have greater language to provide for interstate and intrastate responses, which pertains to if we were to be sent to communities in Wisconsin, which has happened in the past, we'd have better benefits and coverage for our community, our department. And likewise, if we were to request resources from other states, Wisconsin to us, or even parts of Iowa. Also, the language pertains to better coverage for large-scale disaster responses and reimbursements from FEMA, such as if we were to be deployed to hurricane-prone areas, and also if we had responses due to tornadoes and other natural disasters. So this agreement, as usual, does not cost the city any dollars whatsoever. We stand to benefit by all this additional equipment that's made available to us. So because of their growth over the years, they found it necessary to enhance their language and also encompass the responses to other areas outside of the state of Illinois.
Alderman Busker?
Madam Mayor, yes, this is a great tool that's used by fire departments all over the area. I make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second. Mayor? Chief Miller, could you explain briefly what this box contains? I mean,
Well, the term box describes the structure in which the request for outside resources or mutual aid is predicated upon. So it's linear in nature. So if we had, say, a fire downtown, an initial box alarm would just be one level of predetermined resource responses. So if we elevated that alarm to second alarm, third, or whatever, it grows exponentially. So the box describes the structure in which all this predetermined equipment will be made available. So the box just refers to the structure and design of the response.
okay, but it would be nothing, excuse me, Mayor, but it would be nothing that's gonna be placed within the city of Freeport out in the public or anything like that.
No, it pertains to how it is written up and designed. So in other words, we have a big incident, I'll pull out my box cards.
Yeah.
And so it's not a physical box, it's so to speak. It's describing how it's structured and written up.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
All right, so we have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Ross for the adoption of Resolution 2023-37. If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Mizek.
Aye.
Barr.
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Item number 15 is approval of Historic Preservation Commission Facade Improvement Grant recommendations. Madam Clerk, could you please read all four?
All of them are resolutions approving facade grant agreements for 2 West Stevenson Street, 8 to 10 West Stevenson Street. Let me back up. Resolution 2023-38 pertains to 2 West Stevenson Street. Resolution 2023-39, 8 to 10 West Stevenson Street. 2023-40, 8 to 16 East Main Street. And Resolution 2023-41 is 25 West Stevenson Street.
Thank you. Director Duckman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Historic Preservation Commission reviewed 6 facade improvement grant applications on April 18th of 2023. and staff had set an initial budget of $20,000, which is funded by our downtown TIF. Currently, the downtown TIF has a fund balance of $150,000. Each application was reviewed by 5 criteria. And out of that meeting, the HPC, they made a multi-tiered recommendation based upon a budget and then the number, based upon the scoring of the submitted applications. And so, Madam Clerk was nice enough to mention that there's 4 resolutions here, and I'm going to go in and explain a little bit how we ultimately, there was a multi-tiered recommendation. So the HPC had given a budget number and then the application that they were suggesting. So not all of these may be, ultimately you may end up not selecting one of these resolutions. So I'm just trying to clarify for everyone what that means. So starting off, if we maintained our $20,000 budget, the recommendation was to go with 25 West Stevenson for a little over $9,000, and that was the restoration of a first floor facade, which would include the incorporation of a 12-foot tall, the Stevenson County Courthouse doors at the entry. It also would include the bus building, which is 816 East Main Street, Licky Jewelers. And you've probably seen on that, they're already in the process of doing a structural restoration as a result of their fire they had. So what they came in for was they wanted to do some additional painting, some awning repair, and window replacement. So that would be the first recommendation, which is going to be the first 2 resolutions. So that was option 1 that was suggested. Their second recommendation would be to go with a $25,000 budget, which would be the same as the $20,000, but it would add around $700 to the 816 East Main Street. They had asked for $15,000, and by adding the budget a little higher, we were able to allocate some more money to that project. And in addition to that, 8 to 10 West Stevenson, which is the twice as nice building, with that recommendation, they would be adding that project with a little over $4,500. And that project would include exterior painting, awning repair all along Exchange Street. And then finally, the third recommendation would be a little over a $33,000 budget. Again, the first 3 projects from the $25,000 budget are the same. But you would also be adding the 2 West Stevenson Street project, and that had around an $8,500 budget. And this would be a painting of all the second and third floors, and also tuck pointing and redoing some of the tin on the window surrounds. So in looking at these projects, one of the reasons there's a multi-tiered approach was staff came with a $20,000 budget, but we had 6 applications, and we had some great projects that were well-funded. The applicants did a great job presenting their designs. And so, after a long meeting, it was recommended that we would present 3 budgets with different projects. And staff recommends going with option 3 based upon the fact that we have quality projects that are funded, well-designed, and based on the quality of those applications, staff's recommending going with option 3. So.
And funding is available.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you for mentioning that. I will go into that a little bit as well. So in going with option 3, we're talking about adding around $13,000, and this all would come from the downtown TIF fund. Last year, there's a little over $1,000 remaining from a project that did not move forward, so there's some money there. But there's also an additional $45,000 approximately, which we allocate in this fund yearly for potential redevelopment agreements. And staff feels that this is certainly qualifies as a potential redevelopment agreement. Falls in line with that.
Alderman Borneman?
So I just wanted to clarify that the funding for this is from the downtown TIF, and the downtown TIF funds can only be used for certain things, and they have to be within the corridor of the geographic limitations of the TIF, right?
Yes.
Okay. I did have a question. I noticed last year, and I think this year, and then I believe it was last year, I guess it's an art gallery on the corner of Chicago and Main.
Yes, you're talking about the Luna's Art Gallery.
Yeah, and I noticed I think they applied last year. I've seen that application before, and this year. I see they didn't make the recommendations. I was just curious what the committee's thoughts were on that project.
There was two thoughts on that. So last year when they applied, they didn't, they were approved, and then they basically went the entire year and didn't do anything with the project. So when I called them and followed up with them, they said, no, we just didn't do it. And then I said, okay, well, if you want to do the project, you're going to have to apply next year. And then when they applied next year, the property owner didn't even show up for the meeting. So we, after reviewing it, we just said we're not going to move forward with it. It wasn't selected for that reason.
I'll make a motion to adopt option 3.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman Borneman, second by Alderman Shadle for adopting option 3. Is there any further discussion, pardon me, on all 4 resolutions?
So option 3 is basically you're approving all 4 resolutions that are listed in your packet.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Mayor, could I have the second again?
Shadle.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Busker?
Aye.
Shadle?
Aye.
Misick?
Aye.
Barr?
Aye.
And Borneman?
Aye.
All 4 resolutions are adopted 7-0.
And item number 16, could you please read the approval bid?
A bid opening held on April 18th, 2023 for shaping and grinding for MFT project number 23-00000-01-GM.
Thank you. Manager Boyer?
Thank you, Your Honor. The Public Works Department identified road maintenance projects for 2023. The following projects are scheduled for resurfacing by the Street Department this year. Monterey Street, Barbary Court, Marvin Lane, West Greenfield, Ridge, Westwood Town Drive, and Bradmar. Alternates are Center Street and Center Drive. On Tuesday, April 18th, the City of Freeport held a bid opening for this year's street maintenance program, shaping and grinding. The 3 bids received were from Helm, Martin and Company Excavating, and Fisher Excavating. The funding for this request is through the MFT fund, and staff requests City Council approve the Fisher Excavating bid at $844,729.79.
Discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
No, I had a question.
Alderman Borneman?
I thought I recalled Navajo being on this list, or is that a different list? What's? It's the West Greenfield section. Okay.
So we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman Shadle, seconded by Alderman Ross to approve the bid as stated. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Busker?
Aye.
Shadle?
Aye.
Misick?
Aye.
Barr?
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The bid is approved 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 17 is reports of department heads. Finance?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you. Economic Development?
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do we want to say anything on Public Works, or you want to just wait until you're...
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Fire?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I'm pleased to report that Shannon Fire Protection District took delivery of our old ladder truck today. So that sale has been closed and finished, and we wish them well in their new purchase.
Thank you. And Police Department?
Yes, thank you. I have 2 success stories. I just kind of want to talk about some positives that happened with officers from the police department. The first one happened, well, on April 18th of just a couple weeks ago. I received a letter from Chief Michael Riemann, who's the chief of Durand, Illinois Police Department. And this was about an incident that happened on April 16th, 2023. involving Officer Blake Upman, who was actually off duty, but he was within Pacemaker grocery store in Durand. When he came into the grocery store, he observed an individual that was known to him who was concealing meat and alcohol. And then he saw that person then run out of the grocery store. Officer Upman then followed that person and saw him get into a van that was driven by another person who he was familiar with, and that van then fled the parking lot. Officer Upman then approached a Durand officer that he saw who was on duty and relayed everything that he had seen to him. The van was then located shortly after this, and an arrest was made with the two individuals inside, along with about $300 worth of stolen merchandise. The chief emphasized that this incident could have more than likely would have been unsolved unless Officer Upman intervened, and was very appreciative of that. And the chief was impressed by Officer Upman's professionalism and willingness to help. So I just thought I'd recognize him for that act that he did while he was off duty. Another one is tip 411. I had my first success story with that just recently. On the 28th of April, I saw a tip come across actually my email when I was on the computer. The tip was the tipster was stating that a male was at a certain intersection in Freeport and that described his clothing and that he was in possession of a firearm, and specifically a silver pistol. I then typed a message out to the officers, and they quickly flooded the area and were able to find this person, who ended up being a juvenile, and he was in possession of actually a BB gun pistol that looked like a real pistol that had a silver slide. So I had follow up with the tipster and told him that I appreciated the tip, because without that we wouldn't have been able to recover that. Even though it was a BB gun pistol, we all know the dangers of carrying those around on the street. So I think both cases exemplify the professionalism exuded by our officers and displayed an ability to work with each other and other agencies and the public to accomplish our mission. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Library?
I just wanted to remind everyone that the library is going to be closed on Thursday, May 4th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We just have a late open for staff training.
Thank you. Communications? Thank you. IT? Thank you. City Manager?
Thank you, Your Honor. Gills Freeport Disposal has announced that Freeport residential garbage collection routes will be changed on Monday, June 5th, 2023. As Gills continues to integrate the moorings portion of the city's residential contract, route changes are necessary to ensure quality and timely service. Residents are encouraged to our online map on the City of Freeport's website to see if their service day has been changed. Residents will be able to insert their address into the search bar located on the interactive map to view their garbage collection day. If residents have trouble viewing the online map or don't have access to the internet, please contact Gills Customer Service. And that's all I've got, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to add to that, I checked it for my own self today. Very easy process to do. So, but again, if you can't or don't have the ability to, calling Gills is your next option. So we'll move on to the new business. Alderman Ross?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Parker?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Alderman Busker?
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Alderman Shadle?
Nothing tonight.
And Alderman Misick?
Nothing tonight.
And Alderman Barr?
Nothing, Your Honor.
And Alderman Borneman?
Yeah, just briefly, I wanted to address the listening public. If they're interested in, the documents we've been referring to, those are all available on the city's website under under events, the city council meeting, the agenda, and the agenda has an interactive link with all the documents, the meeting, basically the packet information that we receive as council members, and that going towards, to recap, as we touched on, this was Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And the fact that we have these documents available in advance of the meeting, links to all these, really speaks to how talented and devoted our clerk is, because this isn't a requirement of any statute to have these available the way they are. And I know many municipalities and government entities that I interact with, this type of agenda isn't available in advance of the meeting. So I just wanted to remind the public that this information is out there if you're interested. in following up on what we're discussing. It's available in advance of the meeting, and I want to thank W. Anderson for all the work that she puts in to make sure that these documents are made publicly available in advance of the meetings. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That leaves us with public comment. Tommy?
Dwayne Dickinson, what's the update about the IV grocery store and free?
You know what, Tommy? I haven't heard anything from Hy-Vee this last week, so, but I know they're coming.
And Don Parker, you did a good job doing the.
Thank you.
And Simbalu, you did a good job, but glad you got a job at police chief thing.
Thank you.
How's Matt Summers? You heard everything? What's he do? He's still working at Pacatonica?
Yep.
I miss him.
I'll tell him you said that.
Linda?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind the community that this Thursday is National Day of Prayer Day, so we have 2 events in the city here, one at the Farm Bureau building at 7 in the morning, and that includes a breakfast, and then one at 7 p.m. in the evening at Faith Center, Freeport.
And that's this Thursday? Is there any other public comments this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 22, executive session. Madam Clerk, could you please read this?
We will be entering executive session only for the litigation exemption pursuant to 5 ILCS. No, I'm wrong, aren't I? I'll read 2. One for personnel pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. Secondly, pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C11, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting.
Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Shadle. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Misick.
Aye.
Barr.
Aye.
And Borneman. The motion passes 6-1.
Thank you.